You know, seasonal anime kind of bores me. I mean, everyone is watching the same shit and constantly talking about said shit. Not that I'm implying those shows are bad, I'm sure a lot of them are pretty good. And I don't blame anyone for covering stuff airing this season because discussing trending topics is how you grow on YouTube. I just find it particularly mind-numbing that fewer people are going around and talking about old stuff that interests them. So, that's where I come in. I'm not that crazy when it comes to seasonal watching. I don't watch everything that comes out, just a couple of shows. While I'm not watching those, I'm typically watching some older stuff. From a year ago to 20 years ago, and I just so happen to really like talking about those shows, and this new series helps me express my eagerness to do so. My rules for this series is that the show must have around 100,000 users or less on Mal, and it must be from at least a year ago. No specials, sequels, OVAs, etc., but shorter shows and movies are allowed. It should also be a show I genuinely like, so sorry this art club has a problem. I'm going to make a special video on you later. Also, this is not an objective review series. This is just me talking about what appeals to me in a show that other people may appreciate as well. If you want an objective review, you can just fuck off. Oh, and also light spoilers ahead, so fuck off if you dislike that too. With that being said, I should ask you, who the hell has watched Flip Flappers? Ironically, this is one of the first seasonal shows I have watched, and that was in the fall of 2016. When this show was airing, people were calling it the underdog of the season, and I agree with that. Sure, it was nowhere near perfect, but not many people were discussing it at the time, which is unfortunate because this show is quite solid. This show is by Studio 3 Hertz, a relatively unknown studio who more recently made Princess Principal and are going to make the new Sword Art Online spin-off, so I'm sure that's in good hands. I would consider this the Little Witch Academia of 3 Hertz. While not being their first show, it was definitely one that put the studio on the map for anyone who just so happened to pass by it. It was also nominated as Best Animation for the Crunchyroll Anime Awards of 2016, which also caught some people's attention. It definitely had the right to do so. It is a show about a couple of girls hopping through fantastical dimensions with some great animation to boot. It is a more episodic series with an overarching story, which is instantly intriguing to me. Most of my favorite anime are structured in this way, like Haruhi and Little Witch Academia. More shows than not handle this really well, having the perfect amount of variation while keeping a bigger narrative that I can stand behind, and Flip Flappers is no exception. In fact, it's one of the shows that does this stronger than the majority. Each episode takes place in a different dimension with their own stories and ways to interact with them. There's the snow dimension where you can eat the sugary snow, so I guess it's ice cream? And then there's those massive monster things that remind me of the Ohm from Nausicaa. Then the characters could be both reliving their classmates' tragic past together. It can go from trippy as fuck to abstract, less fantastical settings. It is really interesting how the characters interact with these varying universes as well, even though the characters themselves aren't anything noteworthy. From commanding desert thieves against your own will to having tea with creepy ghosts is what makes these worlds feel alive and show that they have interesting and unique properties. These worlds are also charming in the fact they pay homage to other works. Like I said, the reference to Nausicaa, and then there's Mad Max, Star Wars, and old mech shows. The director even admits to parodying different shows and has worked on shows that have clearly influenced him, like Space Dandy and Gurren Lagann. It's like they're hopping through anime dimensions! It's seriously charming to see how the show celebrates others that have come before it. The show is just as interesting on a technical level as well. The background art is gorgeous with its painterly aesthetic that is always capable of using the right color palette to convey the mood of each world, as well as having these unique character designs and art. I really like the eyes in particular. They use hatching as shading instead of some shows that give the eyes several sections, and the head shape and body ratios aren't really something I've seen either. The transformations also look cool with their vibrant colors and overall futuristic idol look. Also that fucking mech. It's pretty damn awesome. The sound design is really nice too. The soundtrack is typically upbeat but can quickly adjust to the tone of each scene. I personally love the opening because I'm a really big fan of electronic music, especially future-based, and with animation and style that can butt heads with other openings like Mob Psycho and Cabaneri from 2016. It surprises me to this day that Flip Flappers wasn't nominated for this category. And then there's the animation, which was nominated and totally deserved it. And oh boy, does this show give Trigger a run for their money. High-octane action with complex camera movements that would make Hiroyuki Imaishi cream himself. The fight scenes have just as much impact as Imaishi is known for, but made by the small studio consisting of virtually nobodies. And, ew, fan service. Give or take your opinions, there is a lot of stuff that is barely safe for work, as in there is no nipples. More evidence that there is a lot of Imaishi influence. It's not really appealing either since I'm not into 13-year-old girls, which is a minor reason I despise Ero Manga Sensei. And like Ero Manga Sensei, I could not really care much about the characters. The characters are two-dimensional at best, that being that pink-haired guy who is amazing in the Japanese version, and yes, there's a dub, who screams about science and is highly entertaining. The only things I really liked about Paprika and Coconut were their transformation designs, and other characters other than pig-haired guy aren't really that interesting. I mean, Yaika feels like she's been cheated out of her relationship with Coconut, so there's some sexual tension there, but Paprika and Coconut's relationship is just a weirdo / logical mix with some Yuri. Hello?
I love you.
And on top of the bad stuff is the ending. It takes the episodic plot and throws it down the fucking drain and pisses on it. I don't want to spoil it because there will probably be someone who may like it and their fun shouldn't be ruined. Just know that there's some dumb shit about Coconut's backstory and it is a bit of a confusing mess, but hey, at least the world is saved, so I guess it's all good. With all of this in mind, I still like this show, and a solid 7.5 out of 10 is a fair score in my opinion. I recommend this show to people who like things a bit more experimental with cool action scenes, and I hope you don't get burned by the ending like I did. Alright, so tell me, do you think this series is a good idea? I think it is a good change of pace to step back and appreciate some older, more obscure shows. If you would like to get some more recommendations for shows, you can chill on this channel by subscribing. You can like, share, whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. Follow me on Twitter to stay updated or, you know, look at memes, and Twitch is a place where you can hang out with me. So, thanks for watching, and hopefully we can get this series going. Goodbye.